What's good, Tamers? This is Zakaro from Lockout Games, bringing you a first-to-one deck showcase video with Rasenmon on the left and DexDorugoramon on the right. Starting off, the Rasenmon player is going to hatch an Upamon in the back row, and then go into Salamon X Antibody, not getting the effect because it is in the raising area, but digivolving into Turuiemon and setting their opponent to 1. The Dorugoramon player is going to start off by hatching a Doruiemon in the back row, and then going into the Draw Doruiemon. They're not going to be able to get the on-play effect because they did digivolve in the back row, but that's okay, because they're going to go into the Dorugoramon from there, leaving their opponent at 1 memory as well. We see the Turuiemon getting pushed up to the battle area, and then digivolving into the RizeGreymon. This is going to let them play a yellow tamer from their hand, and they're not going to be able to get the on-play effect, but that's not really going to matter too much, as his effect goes off if you have 3 or less security, and your opponent has 3 or less security. Doruiemon gets pushed up into the battle area, and it looks like they're going to digivolve on top of it, going into the DexDorugoramon, so they are going to be able to trash a card with Dex or X Antibody in its name and gain a memory. That's going to set them to 3 and give them a decent amount of options to go into a level 5 from this point, and it looks like they're going to do that going into the RizeGreymon. We do know this card is pretty powerful, as it just recently got limited in Japan, being able to protect itself from on-deletion effects and not being able to have its DP reduced. And then from there, they're going to go into the DexDorugoramon. This normally costs 1, but they are going to be able to trash a card, giving themselves 1 memory, and if there was a level 4 or lower Digimon on the field, they would be able to delete that as well. So their turn continues, and this is the power of the X Antibody digivolving, and they're going to go into the Death X Digivolution, going into the DexDorugoramon from there. That's going to wipe out a Digimon with the lowest play cost, and since there was only 1 RizeGreymon on the field, that is going to delete it. From there, it passes over the turn to the Rasenmon player, and they're going to hatch a Koromon in the back row, and it looks like they're just going to hard slam a Kyubimon and then go into a RizeGreymon on there, not being able to use its Digiburst effect because it doesn't have 2 sources underneath of it, but they are back at a level 5. Over to the DexDorugoramon player side of the field, they start off the turn with 3 memory, and they do go into a Doruiemon in the back row, just setting up a future Digimon. It looks like they're going to swing in at this point. It does have security attack +1, so we're going to see what it checks right now. With the first check, it looks like they're going to hit a TK. This is going to activate it, and they're going to be able to look at their security and pull a yellow card from it. Seems like they're deciding right now, but they go for a Herissmon, so this is going to be able to let them digivolve on that Koromon in the back row, and because it was yellow, they are going to place a card and recover 1 on the security, so this is going to set them back up to 4, and we are going to have to continue the security checks after this. So the second check is going to reveal a Filmon, and that's not going to be enough to take out the DexDorugoramon, so it is going to live. And right now the Dex player has 3 memories, so they are going to be able to keep their turn going and play down some very important cards that they're going to need to start applying the pressure to the Rasenmon player. And it looks like they're going to go for a Cool Boy. This is going to help extend the turn as well as get cards into their hand anytime they digivolve into a Digimon with the same level. So pretty much the X Antibody Digimon, they are going to be able to get 1 memory and draw a card off of that. And with 1 memory left, it looks like they are going to go over to 3 and just hard play the Doruiemon. Seems like they might want to draw a couple cards, so they are going to be able to discard an X Antibody and draw 2 from that. So right now the Rasenmon player has 3 security. They are going to be able to gain a memory off that from their tamer, the Tai, and the Kari, and it looks like they're going to digivolve their Koromon in the back row into a Herissmon. So they have 4 memory right now with the turn, and they are able to do a decent amount with that. They could try and go after the DexDorugoramon by digivolving on top of their level 5. It is at 13,000 DP right now, so they would have to have something that could swing over or reduce its DP. The RizeGreymon is able to do that since they do have a tamer, and it would be able to bring it down to 11,000. But they go into the Filmon in the back row, digivolving for 2, putting them down to 2 memory. And it looks like they're wanting to draw some cards. They might not actually have a level 6, so they're going to swing in with the RizeGreymon and then use the Tai and the Kari's ability, reduce the strength of all of the security monsters by 2,000. So it seems like they hit a DexDorugoramon, and that was actually very good because they were both at 7k, and the RizeGreymon would have been destroyed normally. Then they hard play a Salamon for 3, sending the Dex player over to 1, so that it is going to limit the ability that they have to play a whole bunch of cards unless they find a way to gain more memory and not pass it right back over to the Rasenmon player side of the field. So the DexDorugoramon player has an interesting choice to make, and it looks like they're going to decide to swing into the RizeGreymon and get that off of the field, so it can't digivolve into a level 6 and potentially do some big effect that might start swinging the battle in their favor. They still have 1 memory, so the next Digivolving that they do is going to pass a turn, and they choose to go directly into the DexDorugoramon. So that's going to give the Rasenmon player 3 memory, and at the beginning of the turn, they are going to gain 1 because they still have 3 or less security, and that's going to be the effect of Tai and Kari. They are going to promote the Filmon, so it does have 2 sources underneath of it, which means it is going to be able to Digiburst and give 1 Digimon -2 security. And they're going to choose to use that ability on the DexDorugoramon, so that's going to actually bring it down to 0 security checks, so they don't have to worry about it swinging in on the next turn. From there, they're going to Digivolve into an Antylamon, so they are going to be able to use its effect to swing in more than once if they want to, and that's going to try and catch them up, because right now they are pretty behind. They do have a level 5 and a level 3 on the field, but the level 6 and the level 4 that the Dex player has is pretty powerful. So they are going to swing in with the Antylamon. It is going to hit an X-Deathmon, so that is just going to wipe it right off the board, even with the -2k that the Kari and the Tai are providing. They chose not to use the ability to restand it. You would have to do that before you actually do the security check, and that's probably for the better because it would have been destroyed, and they are still at 3 security checks right now. But the Salamon is going to Digivolve into a Kyubimon for 2, and that is going to pass the turn over to the Dex player. So right now, the DexDorugoramon actually doesn't have any security attacks, so they're just going to Digivolve straight into the Doruiemon. Once again, this card is really powerful. It's really hard to remove, especially with Yellow's ability to -DP not working on this Digimon. They really don't have an option for getting rid of it. But Rasenmon is going to go up to 5 memory now because both players do have 3 or less security. They're going to hatch an Upamon in the back row, and this is going to let them draw a card now whenever they swing in with a Digimon that has it as a Digivolution source. And then Kyubimon is going to go into a RizeGreymon. So it does have 2 Digivolution sources, so they could Digiburst and bring out another Tamer, and it looks like that's what they're going to try and do. The Rasenmon deck playing a lot of Tamers. So we see a Shu-Chong Wong being played that's going to let them play a Lopmon, and because they have 3 or fewer security, they are going to recover 1, bringing them back up to 4, and then going straight into Turuiemon from there. So they are going to have 1 memory, so they go into a Salamon in the back row on top of that Upamon, now rebuilding their board presence, and then going into another RizeGreymon, leaving their opponent with 2, and being able to play another Yellow Tamer, and it looks like they're going to play a second Tai Kamiya and Kari Kamiya. So they're going to gain a lot of memory next turn if they get hit and brought down to 3 or less security. And then if they don't, that's actually going to be really good for them because they are going to be able to continue to push the offense. So the Dex player brings up the Doruiemon, and then they're going to swing in with the DexDorugoramon right now. It is going to check 2 because it did recover all of its security attack, and we are going to see it just hits a Salamon and a Filmon, not doing anything to it, bringing them down to 2 security. We do see the Doruiemon swinging in, and another Shu-Chong Wong is going to be hit. Looks like they might not have the Lopmon to play from their hand, but if they survive, their next turn they're going to draw 2 cards and go up to a lot of memory, and then a Sunrise Buster being the final card to be hit from the security. This is going to let them -DP a lot to a Digimon, and it looks like they're counting up their Tamers right now, and they're just going to go ahead and wipe out the Death Xmon. However, because this is a Dex-based deck, they are going to be able to bring it back because they have well more than 5 cards that have Dex or Death X in their trash, so they are going to get that effect, bringing it back onto the board, now getting an on-play effect, and that is actually going to take out that yellow RizeGreymon. It does leave the red and yellow RizeGreymon on the field, and the Dex player still has 2 memory, so they can continue their turn. They don't have anything that can swing in right now, or a Tamer that they can Digivolve onto to do the final blow. So it looks like they're just going to set up the board with a Coda Demodo. So this whole game, they've kind of been memory locked, and that's actually been what's been keeping the Rasenmon player in the game. And now we see the Shu-Chong Wongs coming into effect. They're going to draw 3 cards at the beginning of their turn, and then they're going to gain an insane amount of memory from both of the Tais and the TK and the Kari. So it looks like they're going to end up with 9 memory at the beginning of their turn, pretty much going to be able to go into whatever Digimon that they need to. We do say a level 5, and then the Salamon is going to get promoted up into the battle area, and they pretty much have to either recover a whole bunch this turn or finish the game, otherwise they are not going to get another turn. But the RizeGreymon is going to go into the RizeGreymon X Antibody. This card is amazing. It lets you play a Tamer, which they go for a TK. There's no cards to actually draw from their security, so they are just going to play that just to have another Tamer. and then for each tamer that they have on the board, they are going to be able to minus 2000 DP to one of their Digimon. Looks like they're going to be counting them up, and with 7, they're not going to be able to take out the X-Deathmon, but they are going to make it substantially weaker. And then going into a Lopmon for 3, that's going to bring them down to 5 memory, but they do go back up to 1 security and are not out of the woods yet. And then we see the Rasenmon Fury mode, finally a level 6 going onto the field from the Rasenmon player's side. It does swing in. This is going to be a bit of a misplay, as Rasenmon Fury mode isn't yellow, and you do need a yellow Digimon attacking to get the TK and the Kari to activate. However, this is going to be rectified later on in the game with other yellow Digimon attacking, and then the RizeGreymon effect is going to take out the Doraemon that only has 2000 DP. Then we see the effect of the Fury mode. After it's done attacking, it's going to Digivolve into a Rasenmon for free, going to draw a card, and then we do see the Digiburst effect that's going to take out the last Digimon that's on the field, restand it, give it plus 3000 DP, and then a Qualialise Blast as well. So at this point, there was more than enough minus DP for every Digimon to be wiped out. It's not going to affect the game greatly, and right now the Rasenmon has 2 checks and is at 14k. So looking, it just hits 2 Digimon level 5, and then finally a Salamon's going to swing in for game. Well, Tamers, if you enjoyed the match, please like and subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to bringing you more content like this with some less known and more fun decks that are out there, showcasing them in 1-to-1 matches and having a lot of fun with them. If you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comment section, and I'll try and get the deck built and put onto the channel. Well, until next time, let's get that gate closed.